It sounds good. I'm glad to hear that it went
positive.
Towards your favor.
Yeah.
We will support you any way we can.
We'll be good, and I'll keep you guys posted when that zoning comes up and how that goes. So, but yeah, thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank
Have
you,
a great
Nikki.
day, and try to stay dry out there.
Get the pictures of the duck. Corey said to stay dry. I said get pictures of the duck.
I'm not going to stay dry tomorrow. I got pressure washing to do. I'll put the rain gear on, and I'll try to find some duck to take a picture of.
All right, Nikki. Take care.
Have a good night, Nikki.
That lady right there, you talk about a hard worker. I mean, she's out there in rain gear, in the rain, pressure washing the speedway. You know, I mean, how many people are out there helping her? That's what I want to know, because that lady right there, you talk about a work ethic.
I saw a post about a week ago or whatever. She had some volunteers out there helping her.
Yeah,
out.
they had a group out there on a work day.
True race fans.
Yep.
Although a rainy day is a great time to pressure wash because it's not like you're going to get wetter.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. That's true. You know, I'm glad to hear what she said about that.
That's very positive. That made me feel a lot better.
Yeah, that's pretty encouraging.
Yeah.
Now, you've kind of got some experience with some of this stuff, Buzz. I mean, what's your opinion on it?
Of course, in the ag industry, we've got the Right to Farm Act and all that good stuff, but you still have neighbors that complain about the dust, ryegrass farmers work from, say, 8 to 8 anymore, and that's about it. Row crop guys, we go out there when the cannery tells us to pick. We could go out there. We could fire up beside your house at 1 o'clock in the morning
and go for a week.
Go for 3 or 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
There, and that's just what we do. And people get called every name in the book every once in a while by certain neighbors.
But I bet you when they're eating that food you put on their table, they're not complaining.
Oh no,
I mean,
that's our society these days. You know,
there's always a lot less beans or corn next to the neighbors' houses than there is any place else.
But I mean, Joel, what do you think? It's very encouraging. I'm glad that it went well, because I mean, there's a possibility that they could have said, "Hey, you guys are done. Shut her down."
Before Joel gets started here, I want to say thank you to Joel for putting this up on the screen and giving us visual aids here to.
Yeah, we're looking at an overhead aerial view of Sunset Speedway, so we know where we're talking about.
Thanks to our tech guy.
Yeah.
He's very technical.
Dude, I just went for a sprint out to the parking lot to my truck to get
He literally got up and sprinted out of here.
Our third redundant system for the phone line.
There you go.
We now have 3 redundant systems for this phone line.
It worked. You did a great job.
But anyway, going back to the topic at hand with Sunset.
The question.
I've been on this UGB side, on the urban growth boundary, and on the zoning side. I've been part of the the opposition to the UGB, the urban growth boundary, and the annexation and all that. What happened with the Sunset Speedway scenario with the backing of the council and the community? That's going to save that racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
Because without having the community behind the facility, without having the elected officials behind the facility, that is going to take the facility and turn it into a downward spiral.
Well, and look at what happened a couple of years ago. Cottage Grove was up against the wall, and they were trying to shut that place down with the prior owner. And what happened? That community planted signs in their front yard, "Save our Speedway."
Yep.
I mean, and that sounds kind of what they're doing. That sounds like the community's backing Sunset up there.
And especially in a small community of Banks. I mean, they're maybe 1,000, 1,500 people?
There's not very many, but what do you do on a Saturday night for entertainment if you live there?
Yeah, and if you've ever gone up there, that's a beautiful little park, and it's a complex instead of just a park.
That's what it is.
You got baseball fields, you've got
the racetrack,
picnic area, you got camping area, you got the speedway, you've got.
Well, and Sunset Speedway isn't just a racetrack to that community. They do the big Sunset City barbecue there every year. They've got that combine demolition.
Combine demolition, yeah. That's an awesome
combine demolition.
Yes.
Yeah. What?
A demolition derby with combines.
Well, that would be a hoot.
Oh,
I guess if you want to tear up a combine.
No kidding.
But, we've dealt with this on the Right to Farm Act, but every once in a while, and I don't know if they can do this with raceways or not, but if we see a house that's selling in the neighborhood,
buy it up.
We get a hold. Yeah, we get a hold of the realtor and sometimes have them write in the realty contract that, hey, this is a dust zone, this is a noise zone,
right?
This is a chemical zone. you need to let them know what's going on so we don't get complained to.
Later
Right.
on.
And that's,
yeah.
you
Just
know,
be upfront about it.
What Buzz is saying is true because, with the big movement in this country with the pesticides and the GMO nonsense and the organics, with ryegrass farmers and farmers in general, we in the agriculture community, we're spraying chemical on these grass fields.
Mm-hmm.
And people see you out there at 3-4 in the morning with a big 90-foot boom sprayer, and they're going, "Whoa, time out! What are you doing?"
Right.
Well, we're sitting here, and they're applying and spraying because the wind's down, because they're being courteous about it. Now that's why we try and do that with the speedways. Willamette Speedway has that curfew.
Mm-hmm.
We do everything we can to meet that curfew. Sometimes we go over. It happens.
Right.
Is there always a fine that goes along with that? Does anybody know for a fact?
As far as
Going over curfew.
I'm not sure about curfew. I know on the ag side with the applying and spraying and things like
Right.
that, there's not necessarily a fine, but there can be fines associated with it. But it's more so,
If you're out of compliance.
they'll get ODA down here, and next thing you know, you got a problem.
What's ODA?
Oregon Department of Agriculture.
I knew that.
And Harmony. I didn't know that. I just figured what he was talking about. So, but anyway, all in all, that is awesome to hear about Sunset. And I'm telling you right now, with Sunset having Nikki behind that track, I think that they've got a fight on their hands. I'll tell you that, because that is a lady that it will go down swinging.
Right. And if people have questions about farming or racing, either one, come up and ask us calmly, and we will answer you calmly.
Yeah, well,
You start getting in our face, then that makes us.
it escalates everybody.
It just
And somebody gets knocked
out of
out.
hand right off the get-go, and it's not
Yeah.
any good for anybody.
Right.
Yep.
And you guys being
That's
farmers,
true with
not somebody
anybody.
you want to mess with, because a lot of people come out missing.
When you got 500 acres of field
And a shovel.
Yeah, no
Well,
kidding. Yeah,
that's got a diesel engine attached to it.
Track hose.
no kidding. So
That's just common sense. Treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But I feel sorry for Nikki with that all the rain up there, because
Oh, my gosh.
I
I know.
remember 5 or 6 years ago, Pam and I and Gary Hull and his wife and a couple of his kids, I think, went down to Chico to the World Outlaws, and they were getting the haulers stuck out in the pits. I mean, they
Yeah.
were leaving ruts.
yeah, I remember that.
And they should have rounded up the track if they'd have had time, but the grass was like 2 or 3 inches tall. They just started hot lapping and worked it in.
Yeah.
And
No
it was
way.
Awesome. Yeah.
Wow,
Ducks out in the middle of the infield during the race, just having a ball.
that's nuts.
That happened at Portland Speedway in 1996. First year the trucks were there. I was out there with a boom truck, reaching out as far as I could with the boom, stretched out with 4 or 5 chains and some haywire, and pulling. Oh gosh, I can't think of the guy's name now. The 13 truck. But anyway, pulling them out of the parking lot out there because they'd pulled out there and it just sunk them.
Oh my
man.
gosh.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
So, I mean, it's typical. This is Oregon.
Yeah, but
but
this
it
is-
has been an excess.
This has kind of been
this
an
year.
exception to the
Yeah,
rule. Yeah,
yeah.
no kidding. So I'm going to be glad that when this stuff gets done and gets out of the way, because the Brooks Shaw Driving School, you guys have
Right.
heard about this, coming to Willamette April 27th and 28th. This is a pretty cool deal. It's the second time they've done it. They started last year, and we've talked about it before, but
Lots
we
of
did-
praise from last year. Those guys
Everybody-
said nothing bad about it.
well, no, everybody who went to that school found a lot of success. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. And, with Wayne Brooks doing what he does and Kevin Shaw doing what he does on those cars in the classroom at the racetrack, who doesn't get better going through something like that? I mean, you were part of that deal, or your team, your car.
Mm-hmm. It was amazing. I wasn't able to be at the
racetrack
school.
portion. Oh.
Excuse me, at the school. Period. I
Right.
had this thing called a job, and it was during the summer. And Buzz needed to part for his tractor. So
Don't blame this on me.
well, I'm not. I'm saying I want to keep the Tangent Mafia happy, because those guys, they keep the racers happy. But we just looking at the car before it left for that school, and then coming back, just the minute changes that Wayne Brooks had turned to Matthew and said, "You need to do this, this, and this." They didn't have scale pads out there. They didn't have stuff to check weight percentages, and there was lead moved on the car. Some of it was moved 2 inches. Some of it was moved from the front of the car to the back of the car, changing front to back percentage, left to right percentage.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Matthew's another driver that went from not so great to really good in 1 year, and I don't know what he did.
He went to that school.
But
Yep.
it was definitely
Won the Strawberry Cup, man. I
Yeah.
mean, the most prestigious race.
He sent his
Willamette
crew
Speedway.
chief to Hawaii, and he wins the dang Strawberry Cup. I mean,
That did happen too.
a
Yeah.
couple of years ago he couldn't keep up with a grocery cart without wrecking. And then last year before
It clicked.
It clicked, and he's been doing great ever since.
He
Yeah.
really has. That
Yeah.
GRT, they've really got it figured out. And,
Oh, he's fun to watch, man.
you know, I mean, that modified class at Willamette has just been.
You know, I really
It's-
didn't like the modifieds all that much when I first started watching them, but I've really come
They
to
grow on you.
really they do. They grow on you.
you look at the talent in the modified class
That's
and
it.
what has developed in that class in the this last season. I mean, like Buzz said, Matthew couldn't couldn't beat a grocery cart without wrecking himself. I mean,
There's a learning process, though,
There
and you
is.
got to figure those modifieds. That's a little tire those cars are on.
well, and especially
Yeah.
I
look
mean,
at
that's
look at what Rod McCombs. He's been racing for years. He went from that old Pro 3-link chassis to a new 4-bar Schwartz chassis. And
after the school or during the, or whatever, yeah.
and after that school and after all that, he understands it now. And holy
well.
chingus.
You look at the last 4 or 5 races of the year, and Hot Rod McCombs was. I mean, he's top 2 or 3 cars week in and week out.
He was coming on.
That dude put
Yeah.
it together, and
Sam Potter's the same way.
exactly. And those 2 guys right now, watch those guys in the championship title run
Yeah.
this year. I
By the
think
looks
they're
of their
gonna-
cars,
I-
if their cars run half as fast as well as they look,
Yeah, I think
Well,
they're going to be in the mix.
Yeah.
Rod was in the mix this last year.
He was
big time.
Second place this
Yes,
last season.
yeah, second
I
place
mean,
in points.
Yeah.
You just think about all the other guys that are jumping into the modifieds. Brian Thompson. There's another
Yeah,
one. He's jumping
yeah.
out of the super sport, jumping
Yeah.
into the modified.
Well, another one of the big improvers is Gray Ferrando.
Exactly.
And he really stepped it up.
There's a guy that's got some great equipment, and you
Yep.
talk about another guy that's improved behind the wheel. I
And
mean,
he's been getting himself
I mean,
a lot of experience lately.
he's been
He's
traveling.
been getting some seat time,
And that's
way cool. I'm kind of envious.
That's everything.
Very envious.
that's how you learn is by being behind the wheel and putting the loud pedal to the floor.
Yep.
Right.
You can't learn. I mean, as much as people say iRacing helps, I'm sure it helps. But when you actually get behind the wheel and feel what the car's telling you through the seat, there's no better way to learn.
Have you done that?
No, I refuse to. And I have never driven a race car under its own power.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, we're in trouble with this Shriners
Bye.
deal.
This
There's
is gonna
Buzz.
be good.
Joel's right. I mean, it's the same way as running equipment.
There's no.
You
there's
feel
no
vibrations in your feet. You feel
Yeah.
vibrations in your butt. You listen to something that doesn't sound right. Even
Whether
though
you
you
see-
have the radio up, blaring in your ears, you can tell when something's not right.
Absolutely.
You can-
Any
you can-
equipment operator can tell you.
And you can tell when, on the ag side, you can tell when a rock goes through the drum.
Yes. Oh yeah.
You know, when you're in that, when you're racing on the track and you're out there and you're sliding it around, you're banging doors, and then you're up front, you're leading the race. I'll tell you that the worst thing. I know
Spin
when
out.
no, I'm talking about as a driver in the car. So I know for me,
Going into turn one at Salem.
I hate
Yeah.
the start of the race. I hate waiting to roll on the track. You got a death grip on the wheel, and you're just, you think
Gritting
you're
your
relaxed.
teeth.
And once they throw the green flag, then you can relax and drive and do your thing. The worst part about being the leader is taking that white flag, and that last lap, you hear every little sound
Oh,
that car
yeah.
is making.
Yep.
You feel every vibration. You're smelling stuff. I mean, that last lap, it sucks.
Oh, yeah. That's
Even if
tough.
you're the leader, it sucks. I mean, 'cause
Especially when you're the leader.
yeah, it does.
It intensifies.
It does. You hear every little thing and you feel it, and it's just. I mean, there's so much happening in your head.
Well, Some.
That's true. Oh my god. But yeah, that's. But when you get that experience, and my point is, there's no value. You can't put a value on that experience. Right. It's like you're saying, you feel all that stuff, you hear it, and then once you learn to, just kind of ease and settle down, you still feel that, but it's not like it is when you first start. Kind of, like you're talking about Matthew really improving, and there's been a lot of guys that have really stepped it up in the mods. And
Yeah.
Well, and even smells and dusts and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I mean, you've got antifreeze smell, you've got oil smell, you've got
Gear
hydraulic
oil.
smell, you got gear oil, smell,
Everything.
you got gas smell,
and you
It's-
smell and feel all that on that last lap.
and clutch smell.
Oh.
I mean, it's like, oh my god,
Belts,
belts,
Yep.
Every little thing hitting the car
bearings,
underneath it.
whatever.
chaff on fire.
What on fire?
Chaff.
chaff.
No.
The stuff that
It's-
comes out of the back of a combine.
Or a jet fighter.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be fun.